changeover from winter to spring is absolutely my favorite time of year. It takes an entire week to pull everything out of the patio, spray it all down, get out the pressure washer and clean it all down, put all the cushions and the pillows through the laundry, and to physically wash everything down with soap and water. After that, we put it all back, lay out the rug, and we add some throw pillows for color. We can finally eat outside again, which is a big deal to us. We spend a lot of time out here in the spring and the fall. One of the great things about this season is the bottle brushes are blooming. I absolutely refuse to live in the city without some nature around me. And if you've been following the show for a few years, you know about this one. Mama Bird's here for the third year, and once again, we will get to witness a new generation of doves. Welcome back, Mama Bird. The fountain area is in full swing. Sometimes there's 5, 6, 7 birds at a time here. Right now, this lucky guy's got it all to himself. He comes by, takes a drink, takes in the sun, and then it's time to move on. But of course, it's not too long till someone else comes by and takes advantage of it. The cool, refreshing water on a beautiful spring day is too hard to pass up. And this will continue all day as word gets out in the bird community that the vegan family has woken from their winter hibernation. Welcome back, spring.
Welcome back to another episode of Plant-Based Dads. I'm Joey.
And I'm Tim.
First, let's do a quick shout out to our financial supporters who keep the show going. PayPal, Patreon, people just leave money in the comments. Without you, we couldn't do the show because I'm a teacher and I can't afford to do that myself. So we thank you. If you ever thought about how you can help, how you can be part of the team, there's a link in the description below how you can join us. So
we really appreciate the comments for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So every now and then, Lex comes home with a bunch of stuff from school.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's one of those things where the people in the neighborhood who do farming and all that have extra food, and it's going to go bad. Produce.
Yeah, it doesn't look always the best, right?
So they do, and like so many grapes, but so they send it. They give it to the school because the college always has kids that need food and all that, and the kids can just come over with a bag and they can take like one of everything, right?
Yeah, it depends. Every month is a little different. Yeah. But Lex brought us some stuff, so it was nice.
Yeah. Like when he does that, we're always like, okay, how can we use this? So he brought home, I don't know, the shopping bag full of grapes. Like there's grapes in every container in the refrigerator that we have, and they're cotton candy grapes. And grapes are kind of like a waste of nutrition because they're high in calories and they're just, you don't get a lot for them. But they're so good when they're cold and juicy, right?
Yeah. Thanks for washing them, by the way.
Yeah, well, you got to wash them. So they're all washed in the refrigerator, ready to use. But he brought home 2 huge heads of cabbage, right? Yeah. So we decided that, cabbage is great for spring rolls. We were going to do a high-protein version of our tofu spring rolls.
Yes, we did that. I cut some wedges, and then we kind of froze the rest.
Yeah.
So didn't really know that you could do that, or we haven't really done that before.
We didn't.
So that is awesome, because sometimes when you're doing tacos, you don't need a whole head, right?
Yeah.
So I put in freezer bags, just enough sort of portioned out, so if we had taco night, I can incorporate some cabbage, etc., or soup.
Yeah, so we basically, Tim shredded some of it and wedged some of it so he can bake some of it, but he shredded a lot of it so and froze it so we can, and like you said, we didn't know you could freeze cabbage, but you can. And you might want to blanch it, you don't have to. So now we kind of have cabbage like for the rest of the year.
Yeah, well,
for a while.
Until the summer, yeah.
So we're going to show you our tofu spring roll recipe. It's just this time we're using the higher version of the tofu, the higher protein version of the tofu, the Big Mountain.
Yeah, I believe that's Big Mountain.
Yeah.
And so it's just a little bit more dense, but still coated it, air fried nicely.
Yeah. We'll show you what we did here. Let's get to the food.
Okay.
This whole thing started with Lex coming home from school with a whole bunch of produce. The school has this thing where produce that can't be sold because, it's close to its expiration time or whatever, it gets given to the school to distribute. So the school puts out a big table and the students can come by and take one of each thing or however it works. So Lex goes by and grabs a few things that he thinks he might need or that we could use. And then they're on their way. And then whatever they don't give away, whatever the students don't take, they just bring to the cafeteria area, the student union, and they throw it on a table and leave. And whoever wants that stuff can get it. Lex, is very picky. He knows what he likes, but he knows that produce on the verge of expiration needs to be used. So he will grab produce if he sees it. He doesn't like cabbage, but he knows that we'll make something of it. So here's Tim. Tim's decided to, we just watched on YouTube that you can freeze cabbage if you blanch it or even if you don't. So we're just shredding some of it. This is one whole head of it. that he brought, and these heads are huge. So Tim's got the Dastrong cleaver, and this thing is a beast, and it'll make shredding this cabbage very simple. There's a link below where you can get your own Dastrong products. We are going to use one of the heads just as wedges too, because Tim's talking about making like baked wedges in the oven with some sauce on it. But overall, we're going to freeze the shredded cabbage because it's more multi-use that way. We can put it in anything. So that's what we're doing here. I did ask him if he wants me to just get out the shredder for this, the food processor, and we would just shred it. But he really likes doing this by hand. He likes using the knife. He likes using the tools. And to him, it's just some sort of therapy. So that's what he's doing here. Personally, I would not have done this. I would have just went through the shredding machine and been done with it. So this just continues on and on until Tim's got everything he wants out of this. You can see the second head here, and this is how big they were. And this is the one where we're just going to make wedges. Next, it's on some carrots because we're going to make spring rolls, and you're going to need carrots for that. Tim likes to cut them up into long matchsticks, so they go the length of the spring rolls, and then when you bite into them, you can just bite hard enough to cut through the carrot. So that's what he's doing here. We're just going to make long spring roll kind of matchsticks here. Again, we could have just did this in the food processor, but Tim wanted to do this by hand because he likes playing around with this stuff. If you watch the show, neither one of us have any knife skills, so we're just doing the best we can here. And you can see here, I'm holding up the carrots. They look ready to go. You can use these for dipping too. We're also using some of that Big Mountain tofu. It's a high-protein tofu, and I just cut it into slices here and baked it in the air fryer. This has some salt and pepper on it. 400 degrees for 16 minutes, and I flipped it after halfway through. I'll put a link to my salt and pepper tofu recipe in the description below the video. Tim is a big fan of cucumbers. I do not like them, but he's showing you here that, hey, we got some cucumbers sliced. There's the finished product for the carrots, looking so good. And then you can see the shredded cabbage. There's a lot of it. We've also got some of those lotus noodles that we get at Costco. They had a lot of extra calories, but we like them. So now Tim's just grabbing some rice paper, and these are really big ones. And we've got just kind of this pie plate where he's putting the rice paper in a pie plate full of water. So he's going to do that here. And these get softer and more pliable the longer they're wet. They don't necessarily have to stay in the pie plate of water. They just have to get them wet in there. And you can see it's still a little stiff now, but watch when he folds it after all these vegetables are in. It's very flexible. It's just getting more and more flexible as it's sitting there wet. Tim's starting with some carrots here. It's a lot of carrots. It's way more than you need. Throwing some noodles on top. And there's no rhyme or reason. We just know that we're using all of the stuff between 4 spring rolls, 2 for each of us. There's the tofu. I did slice it into matchsticks, so it's easier to put into the spring rolls here. And remember, we're just splitting everything between 4 spring rolls. And then a bunch of cabbage on the top there. And this one's for me, so there's no cucumbers. You should put cilantro in here. You could put in some peanuts. There's a lot of things you can do here. This is just all we had. And we had to cut this stuff up before it went bad. So our lunch is going to be just the way it is here. But, you put in whatever you think is best. Cilantro on here really is something you probably should put in here. It adds a lot of flavor. Tim's just rolling this up. It just sticks to itself. And he's showing you right here. So this one's good to go. And he's showing you right here. He's good to go. And he just moves on to the next one. And the next one is his. So he is starting with some cucumber here. And he keeps on going and repeating the process until he's got his next spring roll. And again, we're going to make a total of 4 of these. The whole recipe will make 4. So at this point, we've got the finished product here. Tim's putting on some sesame seeds for color and just for food photography. And we are using our low-fat PB2 dipping sauce that we make for these spring rolls. There'll be a link to that recipe in the description below this video. And again, you can top this with cilantro or some other colorful herb. But again, we don't have it. And we've got to use up this cabbage now. So we're just, jumping into it right here. And there you go. A beautiful cutting board filled with spring rolls, dipping sauce, and I wanted to show you the box of the tofu so you can see that. There should be 4, then the recipe calls for 4, but we did stretch it out to 5. All right, let's talk about the macros.
All right, these grapes are really good. Grapes are going to be like a side for everything we serve this week, right? It's going to be like yogurt grapes, right? Cauliflower grapes, like everything's going to have grapes on it. Go good. And Alex doesn't like grapes. So
yeah, and if they start going downhill, we both have workplaces that we can bring the grapes to get rid of it right away.
And we have composter too, but I'd like to eat them.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with the macros through this whole thing. All right, I'm gonna put them on the screen here. All right, so the macros I'm giving you are per serving, and the serving is 2 spring rolls, and we made 4 spring rolls out of this, right? So each spring roll, with all of the stuff we used a whole block of tofu, right? Split it into 2 servings, right? Yep. Two spring rolls each. Each serving, which is 2 spring rolls, is 395 calories. All right, that's not bad. 37.5 grams of protein, so that's pretty close to the 1 in 10 thing, right? And 55 grams of carbohydrates, 2 grams of fat. That's per serving of 2 spring rolls.
Yep.
All right. Now, where do all the calories come from? Well, they come from the rice paper and the noodles. The noodles are a huge part of those calories. The noodles are 120 calories for each one of us, right? So you can save 120 calories off of this by not having the noodles, right? But we kind of, again, they're in the cabinet from when we were doing starch solution, right?
Yep.
It was kind of a good time to use them.
Yeah, I mean, I love them. There's room in my macros to have noodles and not sweat it out too much. But Joey's like,
Yeah, I did it anyway, but yeah.
But yeah. And
So-
then we're using, we cut down the calories as best we can
Yeah.
with the peanut butter sauce too, because we're using the dehydrated peanut butter. So.
We are. So that doesn't include the sauce, though.
Oh.
So the sauce, well, you have to. I mean, what is it without the sauce? I'm not eating spring rolls without the peanut sauce. That's the whole point of the Vietnamese spring rolls. The peanut dipping sauce. So there'll be a recipe for this and for the peanut dipping sauce. We've used that on many occasions, right?
Love it.
Below this video in the description, and that peanut sauce makes however many servings when you make it, and one serving of that, which is about 36 grams. Is 127 calories, right? One serving that is 11 grams of protein, right? That's pretty good. 17 grams of carbohydrates and 3 grams of fat.
Yeah.
All right. So together, if you have one serving of the spring rolls, which are 2 spring rolls, just the way we made them, and one serving of the peanut sauce, if you make the sauce and take a serving, you wind up with a total of about 522 calories for that meal. 49 grams of protein. That's pretty good. Yeah. About 72 carbohydrates and about 5 grams of fat. So
for a meal,
yeah.
That covers all our bases.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and when we were done eating, we were satiated, right?
Oh, gosh,
it was
yes.
full. So, but talk about eating whole food and plant-based, getting fiber,
Yeah.
good for the gut, getting the protein in. Like, it just checks off so many boxes, right?
It does, and because
Even the lime juice going in there for vitamin C. I mean,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that whole recipe is really good. Again, you can lower the calories by leaving some things out, and you can put in other stuff. We didn't have any. We really needed to make this today because that stuff was going to go bad. So we didn't have time to go shopping for this for a day and then make it next week.
Yeah.
So we didn't get cilantro in there, right?
Would cilantro have been super nice?
Yeah.
Absolutely, because that taste really complements those flavors nicely, right?
So there's things you could totally put in there.
And if you wanted the peanut sauce, if you're a little worried about the calories, thin it out. I mean, but sometimes just having that moisture on all that fiber, it's really good to have. So
Yeah, I agree.
Make it work for you.
All right, so that's our video for today. High protein version of our spring rolls. Thanks to Lex bringing it home. At one point, when he brings these things home, I immediately start separating. I need to just take a picture of this stuff, right? So you can kind of see.
Yeah. So what we did really shows the idea of food prepping versus meal prepping. And so when we're at the end of the week and we're like, well, what stuff do we have? Oh my gosh, here we are rolling it up, right? Maybe we cook the tofu for protein, but so this is a good example of what you can do at home, or not being afraid of cutting up all those vegetables, right? We could have easily put bell pepper in.
Well,
Could have easily put leftover things.
I absolutely hate cutting up vegetables. That's why you do it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
it does. We are kind of cooking more based on what we have nowadays than going shopping to make a recipe. We only recipe cook at this point if we have something to use up.
Or an all-in-one, right? So if we have a chili, something like that, but we're still bringing meal prep. We showed you earlier that salad bar idea in the fridge, having those cut up veggies, but you come to the end of the week and you're like, am I making a soup or no? Am I making spring rolls, All
right, that's our video for today. Hit that like button, show us some love, click on the subscribe button, click on that bell. You get notified every time we have a new video, usually every Tuesday. Leave a comment below. What do you do with cabbage? Every time I get cabbage, I'm always like, I don't know what to do with this, right?
All right, and just remember to find out your mineral or vitamin deficiency. It's good to log your food and chronometer.
Okay, so you can start doing that?
Joey's all over me. How do you know where you're at? How do you know if you have a deficit?
Oh.
You gotta log.
You gotta log. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Good luck.